Welcome to Talk Podcast. It's me, Nay, and I also have my co-hosts Jamiee and James, and we have our lovely guest, Miss Rebecca, joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, no problem, Rebecca. Now, I definitely want to get started, but before I go into it, Miss Rebecca, can you please pronounce your last name, because I do not want to butcher
it. Yeah, of course. It's Sonuga.
Okay, say it one more time.
Sonuga.
Rebecca, yeah. Sonuga. Oh, I love it. Welcome again, Miss Rebecca. Now, just starting off today, we definitely want to just know more about you. So do you mind just telling Growth Talk who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a mindset coach. So I started coaching in 2020, just after seeing people struggle during lockdown, really. And at the time, I just started another online business. So I started putting myself out there on social media. And I thought, hang on, this confidence that I've built through building online anyway, I can put out some mindset content and help as many people as possible, which then evolved into me scaling it into a proper business. So I was born in Manchester, UK, where I still live now, and brought up by my mum and dad. Very normal, average upbringing. I still class myself as really average now. I always get told off by my friend though for saying it, because I say I'm not, but I just feel like I'm just normal. My background is in corporate sales, so alongside my coaching business, I also have a leadership role in a corporate organisation, which I'm responsible for quite a lot of people and stuff. But I've really been into personal development ever since I was in my early 20s. So I fell into sales at around 18 years old, and then early 20s when I first started personally developing. And then I'd say I started taking it a lot more serious within the last 5 to 8 years. And that's when I've really started seeing leaps and bounds of my own development. And that's why I help people as well with their mindset, mainly people who need help with their confidence and self-belief. Because I feel like so many people are worried about what other people think of them and never actually really fulfill the true passions, because they're just worried about what the next door neighbour is going to think, or what the parents will think, or what the friend who will think, or what someone will think who bullied them at school or whatever. And I'm just here to tell them that they can be and do whatever they wish unapologetically. So that's what I inspire, or try to inspire people to do.
Oh, I love it, because just like you said, the way that the world is set up, self-esteem, people wanting to just fit in, the acceptance rate, it's just out there, making depression even higher. So just what you're doing, just uplifting that next person, just one person, like, that's amazing. I love that.
Thank you. But yeah, I try to do that every time I put content out or a podcast out. I just think as long as I help at least one person, then I've done my job that day.
Oh, speaking of podcasts, what type of podcast do you have?
So I've got a podcast which is mindset related. It's called It Starts With Heart.
That's dope. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah. So yeah, just share as much value on there as possible.
What do you enjoy about coaching? Like, I know you say helping people with their self-belief and their confidence, and I understand like that's in itself brings joy, but like, what is some of the things with coaching that you enjoy, and maybe some of the things that maybe even a challenge with coaching?
Yeah, so one of the things I really like is the breakthroughs. So the stories after or during, and just little things like when people, so sometimes I work with people who've literally got no confidence to even walk to the corner shop. Well, we have corner shops here in the UK. I don't know what they're called where you are, but we have corner shops here in the UK. And sometimes they'll say, oh, I need a full face of makeup to go to the corner shop, or I'll just go to the corner shop and not speak to anyone. But it's just giving them that confidence just to even say hello to people. That is where some people are actually at, where they can't even physically, don't feel like they can even say hello to someone who they just come up and meet in public. So I'd say the breakthroughs is one, and then I suppose the other thing as well is when people are investing in themselves, or have the belief that they can improve their life in some way. The biggest challenge I think as a coach is, of course I'll put as much free content out as possible, but in terms of my one-to-one coaching clients, I think the biggest challenge sometimes is getting people to believe in themselves enough to invest in themselves and their own development as well. So when someone actually takes that plunge and actually invests in themselves, and then you feel, I don't know, it just makes you feel really proud, because it's like, wow, this person's actually paying for me to help them. So I think that's pretty surreal sometimes, and something that I enjoy, not the money, but actually the fact that someone's willing to invest and getting so much value from what I have to offer them. But I think the biggest thing for me is the breakthroughs. Some of the breakthroughs that you get are just incredible, and just seeing people's confidence. And I also do, alongside the mindset coaching, a little bit of business coaching and social media coaching. So even just when people have breakthroughs in the businesses, or when people feel confident that they can post about the business on social media, again, that's something that really fills me up, because that was something that I really struggled with a few years ago before I started working online. I hated social media. I didn't know how to use it. I literally had no following or anything, and managed to build it up over the last couple of years. So again, that's something that I like to help other people with. It's all around the confidence, I would say, and the breakthroughs that people get, just to do whatever they want, essentially, without feeling judged.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Man, we see that you have a little one, and you have a lot of things with entrepreneurship, with your sales background in corporate, and then with business and everything that you're doing with that. How do you manage it all?
Yeah. Yeah, this is something I get asked quite a lot. And I never used to be like this. I used to get overwhelmed at everything. I used to be late all the time for everything. I used to feel like I had no time to do anything. But I suppose the first thing I did was just start practicing and learning about time management. I'm really passionate about learning. So books like Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, as an example. There's another book called I Know How She Does It. I can't remember the author of that book, but I can definitely send it to you after. Yeah. Which is about a woman who's also a parent, who's also an entrepreneur, who's also doing all of this stuff. And I literally just learn little tips on how to be more efficient with my own time. And then I've always been able to really handle probably a more abnormal workload than other people, just because I'm someone who can function, like, I don't advise this, but I can function on less sleep, I would say, than the average person. Also, when I had my little girl, I've solo parented the whole time that I've had her, and I was someone who didn't want to put my lifestyle on hold. I knew that if I wanted to sustain the lifestyle that I had and more, and also take her along with me, I needed to carry on working. So the only way I could do it was finding pockets of time through the day. And then I also knock on the head, like things like I don't sit there for hours and hours watching Netflix, as an example. I do from time to time, but the things that don't really bring me joy, and the things that weren't really getting me towards, I sort of stopped doing that, and then started doing more of the things that do get me closer. But I suppose the biggest thing about, there's probably going to be other parents who are listening to this, and I've actually done a podcast episode on it. You don't need to put your life on hold just because you're a parent. Whether you've got one kid, whether you've got multiple kids, whether you're a solo parent, whether you've got a partner, and you need to make your kids your reason, not your excuse. At the end of the day, my parents taught me work ethic. They weren't entrepreneurs. They weren't super successful, but they taught me to get up and go to work every day. And that's what my girl sees me doing. She sees the work ethic, and she knows that every single thing that she's got, I've worked my ass off for it. So I think just that in itself keeps me going.
Yeah.
I think that's a big stigma too in life. When what you just said, as far as like when you have kids, they think your world has to stop. And I think that's a big stigma in life. I have a question on, when you talked about you giving people their breakthrough, how did you manage to get to your breakthrough? Because I know when you said you had like a confidence, and people have lack of confidence, what gave you your confidence?
Yeah, of course. Good question. So for me, I felt like I, at the time, had a lot of confidence. But then what I realized when I started my first business was that actually, no, I've got confidence in something that I'm comfortable with, and that I was doing in like breathing every single day, living and breathing every single day, which was my corporate role. And if you put me in that job, I can literally do that standing on my head. I've learned loads in terms of my own personal development doing that role. But then the big thing was, I realized actually, just because I'm experienced in the corporate world and I'm confident in my job, I wasn't confident as an entrepreneur. I had no idea how to run a business. And then what happened as well was, I feel like COVID hitting and us all going into global lockdown when it first happened, that had a big impact on how I showed up as a person, because I started my first online business in January 2020. We went into global lockdown in March 2020. My first business is in the travel industry. So as you can imagine, trying to book travel when no one was flying anywhere, and I was new to the industry myself, probably wasn't the easiest or the best move to be in at that moment in time. But I saw two different kinds of people on social media. I saw the people who were not using it as an excuse, but people who were struggling with lockdown and weren't making the most of it. And then I saw the people who did have businesses who couldn't work. Like I couldn't really work to an extent because people weren't traveling for a short period of time. But I noticed that people who couldn't work were still putting themselves out on social media, such as aesthetics people or beauticians, hairdressers. And the ones who were successful when people could go back to them were the ones who was putting themselves out there on social media. And I remember having a conversation with someone who just randomly connected with me on Facebook, and I said, whoa, you are posting a lot. And he turned around and said, well, I can't do anything now. I can't see any clients now, but they'll remember me when I come back. So I thought, right, okay, so that's what I'm going to have to do. And then, like I said before, I had no experience really on social media apart from just posting pictures of my kid, pictures of meals out with my friends. I had no idea how to run a business on it. And I was actually a bit scared of posting about my business as well. And I thought, oh, what are people going to think? And because it's travel and we're in lockdown. But I suppose part of it was because I had already developed like a love for personal development anyway. So I understood that pushing myself out of my comfort zone would have been in my benefit, even though I was petrified. And then also I knew that if I didn't do it, my business wasn't going to go anywhere. And then everyone else who was posting their businesses during lockdown would have been carrying on thriving afterwards or during, and mine would just stay still, or I'd end up quitting because I wasn't making any progress. So I suppose it was seeing other people, and I thought, well, I'm not going to be one of the people who just sits there and does nothing. So I'll just put myself out there. So I putting myself out there. It was dead scary. And then whilst I was doing it as well, and I realized that people were struggling with the mental health, I thought, maybe I can start posting about mindset as well. And again, that was another level of like stepping out of my comfort zone for me, because I was just so used to posting about travel, but then I'd never really posted anything about mindset. And I just started doing live videos. My live videos are all still on my Instagram from when I first started doing them. They're awful. But I keep them there for a reason, just to show that everyone starts from somewhere. And that's literally all I did. I just started pushing myself out there, making myself want to vomit every single day when I was doing it. And then now it's just second nature, and now it's something I actually help other people with, which is pretty crazy.
That's phenomenal. Your awareness, you have high awareness, and I think that's key with being a leader and with everything that you're doing. That's something, just hearing your story, you pay attention and observe what other people are doing and what they're needing. And I think that's so key. If you don't mind me asking, how much time do you put in personal development?
Quite a lot, to be honest. So I always say, as a bare minimum, people should be doing a minimum of 10 minutes, but 10 minutes a day consistently, because so many people don't do 10 minutes a day consistently, including weekends, including when they feel ill, including when it's Christmas Day, including on the birthday, whereas I always encourage people to do 10 minutes every single day, just as if they would brushing their hair or brushing their teeth. But I suppose myself personally, I would spend a minimum of an hour a day. So I'll always read, I'll always do it. A minimum of 10 minutes as part of my morning routine. If I've got longer, I'll do longer. But I always read to my little girl as well. She reads personal development books with me in bed now before she goes to sleep. I'll listen to podcasts in the car or audiobooks in the car. And then where possible, I just try and read physical books as much as possible. So like I said, 10 minutes in the morning as a bare minimum. So I've got my 10 minutes done that I always preach to everyone else to do. And then, like I said, in the car all the time. So I drive pretty much every single day, taking my little girl to preschool, driving to the office or whatever else I need to do, driving to the gym. I've always got personal development on. And then in the evenings as well, I'll always try to read for a minimum of half an hour. But some days I can do a lot more at the same time. Another thing that I really believe in is investing. So I invest in, like I've invested in coaches, I get coached by people, I have business coaches as well. So if you include all of that, and like Zoom calls that I'm on and stuff, obviously I'll do a lot more. But in terms of reading and listening to audios, I'd probably say about an hour a day total.
Okay. And what would you say like is important? What's the importance of you investing in yourself, of having your own coach, a mentor, and then all these other things? Because some people like, well, you're a coach, you know what I mean? But like, why do you feel that it's so important that you have your own coach and mentor, et cetera?
Yeah, I need to always be having a growth mindset for me to be able to help other people. Again, it's I can't preach to people to invest in coaching or to invest the time into personal development if I'm not doing it. So I might not necessarily have a mindset coach because I'm a mindset coach, but I will have people who will help me with the businesses, or I've had social media coaching in the past, or something where I feel like there's a gap or what I'd like to improve. Because people as well look at my page and they see that, you know, that they feel like I've got a good page or whatever, but then I never used to be like that. I had to learn it. So a lot of that has been from social media workshops and doing all these kind of things as well. So I always think that coaches should always be growing and learning as well. It just like adds more string to your bow. So that means I can help other people as well. The better I get at business, the more I can help people with their businesses. The better I get at social media, the more I can help them with social media. Even though mindset is the biggest thing and the thing that I'm most passionate about, I do like it how I can help other people with other stuff if they need it as well.
That's awesome.
What would you say to an entrepreneur or a person that's actually wanting to become a mindset coach? Like, what advice would you give them, especially in the world that we are now, and they feel that, well, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, but I really want to, you know, become a mind coach, but how can I become a mind coach when I'm going through my own stuff?
Mm-hmm. I suppose the biggest thing I would say is they need to try and get through some of the stuff that they're going through if they are actually struggling at the moment, just because their story is going to be so inspirational to somebody else, and the things that they're going through now, they're going to be able to help loads of other people go through the same thing as well. I feel like to be a coach that's firing at all cylinders, you need to be in a good place yourself. Obviously not always, because there's still things that they can do. Obviously I don't feel amazing every single day, but I think if they're going through things themselves, if they can get themselves through that, then they'll know what they've done and then they can help other people. But I suppose if someone is in a space now where they feel ready, but they just don't know where to start, the first thing I would say is maybe start trying to think about who you could potentially help, or who do you want to help. So the way I started was I started to think about myself 3 to 5 years ago and what did I need at that time. And then I just did a bit of a brainstorm around it. What were the things that I was missing? If I had a mentor or a coach at that time, what would I want them to be helping me with? And then I suppose it's just a case of just putting themselves out there and just going for it. You don't need any special certifications or anything if you don't want to. It's literally just life experience. And if you feel like you can help someone, whether it's for free or whether you do end up charging people, then it's completely up to them. But I suppose at first, if they need to, well, actually not at first, always, they need to be thinking about who they can serve. And if they feel like they've got people who they can speak to and people that they can help, then anyone can do it. Yeah. That answers your question.
Thank you for that. That was for my friend. Shout out to you. Because she's trying to get into the life coach right? We're trying to become a life coach right now. And that was one of her biggest things is, well, I can't help the next person because I'm going through this, or I can't help this person because of, where I am. So I thank you so much for that breakdown. And I think it's mostly fear, honestly.
I think what would help your friend is having a journaling session around the things that they think is holding them back, because and I actually did a podcast episode. I'll have a look at my phone now, but it's recording this, so I don't want to touch it. But afterwards, I can send you. I'll send you something that might help your friend. It was just a podcast episode that I recorded a couple of weeks ago, all around like overcoming past traumas and fears and stuff. So it's got a little exercise in there that she can do. So yeah, I'll give it to you after this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yes, I love it.
What are some key values of yours that you stand on?
Yeah, good question. So the first one is trust and honesty. I feel like you need to be honest and just leading or coaching with integrity, and just always be true to you, but always be honest as well at the same time. What you see is what you get with me. I'm very transparent. I also feel like another one of my values is authenticity. So I try to portray this as much as possible on my podcast. So if you listen to my podcast, none of my episodes are edited at all. Even if I completely fluff up my words, even if my little girl comes running into the room, because I'm just trying to show people that you can be and do whatever you want, and you don't need to have everything perfect before you start. Yeah. And I suppose another one as well, I forgot which ones I've said now: trust, integrity, authenticity, and I'd also say courage, because I'm just someone who just believes that if you do push yourself out of your comfort zone and get used to being uncomfortable, whether it's in business or whether it's in anything in life, you're going to continue to grow. It's a bit like when you go to the gym. If you don't work out to the point where you're out of breath or your muscles are hurting from doing weights, and obviously you're not working enough. You need to work through the challenges that you're facing in order for you to get better on the other side. It's the same with anything. So I suppose courage, just having the courage just to go out there and to really try your best not to worry about what people think of you.
Yeah. How did you, because I think we all at some point in our lives worried about what other people think. What would you say to those people out there that do? Because it's some people, that's what's holding them back, is worried about what other people think. What would you say to them to help them get past that?
So some advice that someone told me once when I was worried about posting stuff on social media was that it's usually just one or two people who you're worried about. So they might just be worried about, that one person at school who used to pick on them, or what their brother-in-law's auntie thinks or something, because she's always really opinionated. First thing I'd say, if that is the case, just delete them off your social media first of all, if there's anything to do with social media, and just post as you want to post. But I suppose the feeling doesn't really go until you just get used to doing it, and then you realize that the majority of people who even deserve to even have an opinion in your life are the ones who are going to be supportive of you and who encourage you and who want you to do well and who want you to succeed. The people who are going to give you the people who are going to talk badly about you for trying to change your life in some way, I'd pick the people who don't deserve to be in your circle anyway. And then another thing as well, I would say that what other people's opinion isn't really your business. Some people just set in their ways. My parents are very, very supportive of me, but they're not always the most positive people, but it's not really their fault because they don't know any different. So it depends. If it's someone who's just a negative person who's adding no value to your life, and they just need to go, you either just need to let them go or learn how to block them out. But sometimes if it's parents or people who don't really mean any harm to you, but you're still worried because they're a bit opinionated, then just say to them, like, it's your opinion, but this is what I'm doing. But there's probably no easy way to get over that apart from just doing it and pushing yourself in your comfort zone. As an example with social media, I used to post, literally not look at my phone for about an hour, scared. And then I just like go off and do something else and just try to forget about it. But yeah, I suppose, because that's the biggest thing that holds people back, I suppose. But it's just getting used to being uncomfortable. And then once you do start doing it, you realize that majority of people actually want you to be happy. And if they can see that you're truly happy, then they're the ones that really matter. The ones who are just being negative and trying to give you a hard time, they're the ones who don't deserve your energy anyway.
That's awesome.
I agree. Yeah, I agree 100%. What about the days when you really don't want to get out of bed and do stuff? What is one thing that you do to get your mindset back where it needs to be?
Okay. Yeah, good question. So there's two sides to this. One side is that people need to work on the discipline and not just relying on motivation. You're not going to feel motivated to jump out of bed every single day. It just doesn't happen. Even Tony Robbins, I'm sure, gets up sometimes and thinks, can't really be asked doing this talk today, but he just does it anyway because he's disciplined enough to follow through on what he's committed to do. But then I suppose if I need to get myself in a good mood, you might laugh at this, but I'm a Spice Girls fan. I literally will put Spice Girls on full whack when no one else is there, and I'll just dance and sing and like try and make my daughter laugh, and she's laughing and dancing, and I just put myself in a good mood. I don't often listen to Spice Girls because it's not the first thing that you think of when you put it on. You don't put it on in the car or something like that. But if I need to be in a good mood, I'll just do something like that. I'll just put on some awesome music from when I was younger, and it's like the fun days when I used to go out with my friends a lot more and stuff. Like, what are those? Are those vacation songs that just bring back really good memories? I just play some music like that and just get myself in a good mood. Sometimes a little bit of a social media detox helps as well, and try not to take yourself too seriously, because sometimes you can beat yourself up for not feeling like you're in the right headspace, and you're like, oh, I need to get in the right headspace, I've got so much to do. But sometimes you just need a bit of self-love, and you just need a bit of Spice Girls in your life, a bit of singing into your hairbrush.
Yes, just being.
Who was your favorite one? I have to ask that one.
There's so many, but I suppose just like the standard Wannabe, like if you want to be my lover, yeah, that's the I love that. But I love all the songs, to be fair.
That's awesome. Man, I haven't heard Spice Girls in a minute.
Me neither. Yeah.
That's the beat, though. Like you said, it'll just put you in a good mood because it'll take you back to where you really didn't have any worries.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I love it. And when you talk about like getting you like just in the right headspace, and talking about also like traveling, like what's your favorite destination that you actually have went to? And what's one that you want to knock off your bucket list?
So I've got two favorite destinations. One's New York. I only went there once and I loved it. I spent way too much money. It was like it was so bad but so good at the same time. But that was years ago now. But I suppose more recently I've been going to Dubai quite a lot. So I think for the last 5 years I've been going to Dubai. So I'd say Dubai for somewhere hot, and that's beaches and stuff. But city, New York so far. On my bucket list, there's so many places where I want to go, but two places that are really high up on my list are Maldives and the Bahamas. I really want to go to swim with all the pigs in the Bahamas. For some reason, my boyfriend's like, why would you want to do that? But they stink. And I'm like, I just really want to swim with them pigs. So yeah. So those are on my bucket list. I'll let you know if I ever book them. I will book them at some point, but yeah, they're the two on my list that I want to go to.
Maldives is definitely
on my list. Yes, for sure.
It's just the huts and everything just looks so beautiful.
For sure, that's definitely on my list. And Dubai, that's definitely that one too.
Oh yeah,
that one too.
Dubai as well. Kind of switching the subject, well, not the subject, but like with sales, I know you're in corporate sales, and we're actually all in sales as well. So I was wondering, like, and I know you're a beast at what you do. So like, how do you you know, how do you go about, how did you get to the place that you are now? You know what I mean? Like being as great as you are.
Okay, so just to clarify, do you mean in terms of progression, in terms of like role changes? Because obviously I'm in a leadership role, or do you mean more sales skills?
Sales skills, or both, really?
Yeah, so in terms of the sales skills, the big thing for that is just to be a human, first of all. So many people just turn into robots or just power pitching and just talk the head off someone and then don't let them get a word in edgeways, probably because they want to get all the features out that they're selling and make sure that person's heard everything. But I suppose just building the relationships in the first place, really getting to understand what they actually need from it. So say if your product has 15 things that it does, or 15 ways it can help people, it might only have 3 or 4 things that are actually specific to that person that you're speaking to. So definitely tailoring what you've got. And listening as well, and just overcoming people's objections, like trying not to be pushy. I think it's the worst when people have just got the worst commission breath ever, and you can tell all they're trying to do is get a sale out of someone, and it's just like, stop being so slimy and so weird, just speak to someone like a human. So I suppose that, and also as well, in regards to selling, is being passionate about what you've got to offer. Because if you don't believe in your products, then it's a bit pointless, because you're never gonna, even if you have got the skills. So I've sold some of the worst stuff ever. I've sold toilet rolls that were terrible quality and really expensive to businesses, as an example. That's probably the worst thing I've sold. And obviously I'm not passionate about low quality toilet rolls, but my skills got me over the line for a bit. But I could have done a lot better if I was actually really passionate about the product. Does that make sense? So find something that you're actually passionate about and that you know helps people, because it comes through in your voice and the way that you do it. And then also have the courage to actually ask for the business. So yeah, you're building relationships, and yes, you're being passionate about your products, and yes, you're tailoring the things to do with your products or your service to that person, but then you've actually got to have the balls to actually ask them for the business, however way you do it. So it might be an assumptive close, it might be, you know, like doing a presentation and it leads to a nice close, or whatever, however you're doing it, depending on what you're selling. But actually asking and having the confidence to ask, because some people just get in the friend zone, never actually ask for the business, and then actually they've not even helped the person because they've not actually sold them anything. And then in terms of leadership and progressing, so obviously I started off in sales. I've done face-to-face and I've done over the phone, and now I don't touch the phone, because obviously I'm leading an organization. But I suppose to get to that point, if you are someone who wants to progress and maybe be a sales manager or head up in a department or be a sales director or something, the first thing is always developing yourself, because again, you need to have a growth mindset. For you to be able to lead other people, you need to be leading by example and make sure you're developing yourself. And then also, it also comes down to having the credibility. So you have to be able to do the job, to be able to coach and develop people. And then also the key thing is, or the key thing that I did that helped me was, I got my team, before every single like new promotion that I got the team to the point where I basically made myself redundant. So the team runs itself. And I'm in that position now, hence why I can run another 2 businesses around it, because I'm in the position now, whereas if I'm not there, nothing falls apart. Yeah, of course, I'm involved in more higher level discussions and strategy and all of that, what comes with it. But in terms of the day-to-day operations, I don't really have to get that much involved, but I invest a lot of time in developing people and getting them confident and giving them the autonomy to actually make decisions and fail or succeed. So yeah, I suppose that helps with leadership. Just you can't go anywhere if your team's not where it needs to be. You need to make yourself redundant to then be able to progress, and then someone's filling your shoes then as well, if that makes sense.
How do you get to that place, like to where your team is redundant on what you're doing? What are some things that you implemented? Is it the individual one-on-ones, the group meetings, or both? Or like, what are some things that you noticed that, you know, that was successful to get you to that place where it's redundant?
Yeah, there's a few things. The first thing I'd say is culture. So you need to have a culture within you. You might only have a team of 2 people, but you need a culture within that team. And my culture was everyone just works their asses off, basically. And I could literally just tell, like, you can see the people who need to invest time into, because it was the people who were showing up early, willing to stay late. Like, I tried to get people to leave on time, but because I don't want people to work loads of extra hours that they're not going to get paid for, even though there is an argument to say if you're getting paid your commission, then it doesn't really matter. But people who are willing to do that, and people who you can trust, and developing a culture of people who are good in a sense that they're very positive. So in the organisation that I work for, there's always quite a lot of change happening. It's something that I've been there for over 11 years now, and it's gone from being a very small company with hardly any employees to now a PLC floating on the stock market, massive company. So obviously even just going from a small limited company to a massive PLC is completely different. But just showing people that you're always going to look after them. If you show your team or the people who work for you that you've always got their back and they trust you, then they're always going to be positive and open-minded. So you want your team to be embracing change, embracing challenging situations. Yes, they might look at you and be like, help or whatever, but you're getting them used to that. And it's like anything that happens, anytime we need to roll out something, everyone just takes it on board and just like does it. Also, like I said, the work ethic, because they work so hard, but they've got the skills as well, then that's a double whammy. Obviously, you can't just have someone who just works really hard who's not got the skill set without helping them in other ways, because obviously it's just a waste of their time. But then there's nothing worse than having really talented people who have got the skills who are just lazy, because you're not going to get anywhere. So it's finding the balance of people who want to work hard and also having that growth mindset to actually want to develop themselves and get better. Even if they just want to be a salesperson for the rest of their lives, I try to make it so that their skills are transferable to any business that they go for, any job that they go to, whether they stay with me or not. I want to make sure that they're fully equipped to be able to work anywhere and get paid good money wherever they go as well. So I say the culture is a big thing. And then also, like I said, finding the people who you really want to invest time into. So you'd always do group sessions with the team, so everyone's getting the right coaching and has the opportunity to develop the skill set. But then you always will have people who want more in terms of their own progression, as an example, or people who want to take on more responsibility. Not everyone's like that. Not everyone wants to take on more responsibility, but the people who do, give it them, like delegate. And again, this is something that I spoke about on one of my podcasts. I think the episode's called the Delegation Queen, which is me. Like, literally, I'll just delegate stuff, because I just think at the end of the day, if someone wants to do it and it's going to make them feel better that they're doing more stuff, then they can fill the boots and do more stuff. And I'm also someone who doesn't believe in micromanaging. So it's about, for me personally, I find that when you have the respect, which I do, I've got the respect, I don't need to micromanage people, but they know that they're trusted, and then they don't want to let me down though, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So they'll make their own decisions. Even if I think something's a crap decision, I'd still let them do it anyway, as long as it's not going to be detrimental. And I'd say, yeah, go on, run with it. Because sometimes they might prove me wrong and their idea might be better, or letting them like come up against some challenge and say, actually, maybe I should have done it your way. And it's like, it's fine, it's a learning curve. But I suppose it's just giving people the reins a little bit. And it's like little things. It's like, it makes me cringe when someone, and I know it has to happen in some places, but it makes me cringe when someone says, oh, can I take this day off to go on vacation? I'm like, why are you asking me? Like, just use common sense between yourselves. Obviously, this is to other leaders, other managers. This isn't to like loads of agents. Obviously, I can't say to loads of agents, book off whenever you want, obviously. Mm-hmm. But for people who are in leadership roles, it's like, use your own autonomy, like use your own common sense. If you can see that no one else is off, book it off. if you can see that there's going to be no one in apart from me and all the other agents, then don't book it off, because I'm not going to be available to answer every single person's question. So yeah, just giving them that autonomy as well. Like I said, not micromanaging people and just trusting them. So at the end of the day, if they trust you and you've helped them, you've developed them, you've given them the skills, you've given them everything to be successful, you need to actually let them run with it and do what they want to do, or do what they need to do in order to grow themselves.
Thank you.
I hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah, it definitely did. So many gems. Thank you. That was awesome. Appreciate that.
Cool.
Do you guys have any other questions that you want to ask Rebecca?
Not that I have.
Okay, one more thing. One more thing is credibility. What would you say for someone that wants to help raise their credibility? What would you say is some things that they can do? Because credibility is important.
Yeah, I suppose being trustworthy in whatever industry you're doing. So whether it is sales, whether it is being a coach, whether it's in a building trade, it can be literally anything. You build credibility by doing something well yourself. So obviously, if you're in the sales industry, the way you build credibility is by getting results. If you are a coach, the way you get credibility is through going through your own life experiences and helping other people. If you was, I don't know, a builder by trade and you wanted someone to hire you for a large project, you build credibility by doing the small good jobs first, getting good feedback, and just being someone who people can count on. It's like I wouldn't try to be, I don't know, I wouldn't just jump into real estate now and try to sell a $20 million mansion, because I've never sold a house before in my life. So I would not have any credibility whatsoever in that industry. But if I wanted credibility in that industry, I'd learn it inside out first. And then I'd just start small and I'd be like, right, okay, I've got a few little house sales under my belt. Let's get them bigger and bigger and bigger. And you just build it up from that. Everyone starts somewhere, but I suppose just start with the small things first and get some little wins. Because at the end of the day, whether it's something big or something small, credibility is credibility. But where you'll lose credibility is not by failing, by the way. So people are scared to do things because they're scared of failing and scared of looking silly or losing credibility. In that sense, you don't lose credibility by failing. You lose credibility by not actually doing what you're preaching to do. So if I try to, like, of course I help, like I actually, like, funny enough how I say that, I actually do help people with the mindset who are actually in real estate, but I don't try to tell someone how to sell $1 million house when I don't know anything about selling houses. So I suppose it's just sticking to what you know and what you want to build trust in and just starting small, I'd say.
Yeah.
I love that. So much value. Like so much value. I appreciate that so much. Well, I know us as a team appreciate it. Even the listeners appreciate it, especially those that is struggling right now and just trying to get their foot down, like grounded. Like that's amazing, especially a starting point.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Thank you. And just one other thing, just while you're on that subject as well, if someone wants something to start, just don't wait till it's perfect. Just start. I started my business with no website. I still don't have a website now, which I need to get sorted out at some point, but I started off my business with no website. I had no fancy content or like color scheme. I didn't know what my name of my business was going to be. I just started, to the point where, yes, I wing a lot of stuff, but you get stuff done and you can learn, and you don't need to wait for the perfect business name. Now my business name is just my name. It's just Rebecca Sonuga Limited, because I couldn't think of anything. So that's my name. It took me forever to think of my podcast name. But the only reason why I had to think of one was because I knew that to get it on Apple Podcasts, I needed to have a cover. So you're probably going to be the same, aren't you? So that's the only reason why I even did a cover for my podcast, was because I knew I had to do one to get it on Apple. And I was there for about 45 minutes trying to think of bloody name. So this is why I just say it's just so much of a waste of time. So you just need to just start. They don't need to be an expert. They gain experience just from doing it. You don't have to have fancy font or a fancy logo or a fancy name. Just start, and then all of that will just come to you later on.
Brings you back to a saying that I've read in a book. I forgot what book it was, but it says ready, fire, aim, rather than ready, aim, fire.
Oh, really?
So instead of trying.
Did you say that you wrote that?
You said what?
Did you say you wrote the book?
No, it was a book that I read to where,
right.
you know, how it goes with the concept of, you know, starting before you have everything figured out.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's key, because otherwise you could be procrastinating for years before you do anything.
Yeah. That, man, my wife, she just stepped into real estate. She just got her real estate license. And so she's walking that, everything that you just, I'm like, God is so good, because it's like everything that you just talked about, she's going to enjoy hearing this session from you, because it's going to help her where she's at right now. Like, she's at those beginning stages. And so, man, and other real estate agents or other people that's at those beginning stages is going to help so much. So thank you.
I love
much.
that. Yeah, just tell her just to soak, just be a sponge and soak in as much as possible in terms of what she can learn, and then at the same time do the action and put herself out there. Don't wait for everything to be perfect, and then just go for it.
Yeah,
I love that.
To close out, we like to do takeaways. So you leave 1 or 2 takeaways for the viewers. You know, whatever your takeaways are, not necessarily from this session, but just in general, that they can take away with themselves for this week, month, so forth and so on.
Yeah, of course. So the first thing I would say is, touching it earlier, if you're not actively working on your development every single day, you're not actively working on your mindset every day, even if it only is 10 minutes. And I mean, every single day, start there, because some people will be like, yeah, I did personal development. I read 1 book 3 months ago. Like, no, you need to do it every single day. It's just like going to the gym. It's like brushing your hair, it's brushing your teeth, and get used to doing it. Like, if I don't put something positive in my eyes or in my ears, I feel like my head's a ball of mush, because my brain is that used to just needing that constant like learning and like growth. If I don't do it, or if I do it later in the day, my brain's like, what the heck are you doing to me? I need some stimulation. So that's the first thing I'd say. And I say the second thing is, if you are thinking of doing something, so if you've got, I don't know, a burning desire to be more or do more, and you know you've got some value that you can add into the world, whether it be a product or whether it be a service, and you just got something that's holding you back. First thing I'd say is, if you're genuinely getting held back and you don't know why, do a little journaling session around it, try to identify why it is. But then the second thing is, once you've done that, is you just need to start and just need to do it. If there's other people in your industry who you can learn from, so whether it is a specific type of field that you want to go in, or that you're just starting out in, who are the experts in that field and who can you learn from, and get some virtual mentors or a virtual mentor, and just delve into every single bit of advice that they give, because obviously that doesn't cost anything. And then just start implementing things yourself. And then what will actually start happening is you find your own way of doing things. So I'd say a mixture of personal development, and then also just starting to take the action on whatever it is, even if it just means following a couple of people on Instagram who inspires them in that field, and starting off there.
Thanks, Rebecca. That's awesome. Man, this episode is, I've enjoyed every minute of this episode. So many gems, so much knowledge, wisdom. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure for us to just even interview you, Rebecca. Man, God bless you. Continue to be the great, phenomenal woman that you are, and blessing other people. We'll put her information will be on this podcast, so you can get in contact with her if you want her services as far as coaching. You want to get plugged in with her. But Rebecca, we thank you. And this is volume 3 of Growth Talk Podcast. We're out.
Thank you so much.